Thank you, Trish, for the kind introduction. I noticed that the cruise draw was done before my speech, which made me feel very anxious. So thanks for staying. First of all, let me recognize we're on the territory of the Songhees and Esquimalt First Nations, the Lekwungen-speaking people. It's great to see you here. Let me formally thank you, President Mandeo, for your work for UBCM over your term, and congratulate you on a lot of work over the year over your term for UBCM. It's been greatly appreciated, and I want to thank Mayor Alto and the City of Victoria for hosting us here. Absolutely. Canada's room temperature city. Fantastic weather. Absolutely wonderful. Another mayor I'd like to recognize is Mayor Malcolm Brody. Now, Mayor Brody recently shared with us that after 25 years in local government, he's made what surely was a weighty and heavy decision not to run again. You'll know Mayor Brody from helping deliver the Olympics, delivering major infrastructure, delivering one of the province's first affordable housing strategies. Can you please join me in thanking Mayor Malcolm Brody for his work for the people of British Columbia? Thank you for your leadership and dedication. It's been a busy week. There has been ideas, energy, problems, solutions, and an enduring theme is that as we grapple with these global threats and impacts on local communities at every front, it is a rocky time to govern, especially for local governments. Now, every problem, it seems, shows up at your door, regardless of whether it's in your jurisdiction or not. People are looking for immediate solutions to issues that may have been accumulating over decades. In an area of division and in a time of division and polarization, it can be hard to cut through and bring people together, which is crucial for you to be able to do your jobs. Now, you deserve partners that help you meet these challenges that you face. I'm really grateful for the opportunity I had to meet with so many of you. And I know that you've connected with many of my colleagues this week. I heard about the meetings. I want to thank you for the constructive spirit with which you engaged all members of the government. All of these meetings are done with one goal in mind. We all want to serve the people of British Columbia better. We won't always agree, and our government will not always get it right. And I know we'll hear from you when we don't get it right. But we will always be here. We will always be here.
Sir, can you please sit down, sir?
Walk out.
Sir.
Shame. Sit down. You will not procedure regularly.
Thank you, sir.
As they celebrate pager attacks in other countries. Shame.
Thank you. This is the time for local government. Thank you.
Oh, local government. Do you see the people outside?
Thank you. Listen, we'll always be here to listen and learn from local governments because we'll just take a moment here. Here we go. Okay. Thanks. Thank you. Now listen, we'll always be here to listen and hear from you when we don't get it right. And some people will let us know more directly. The reason why I'm committed to hear from you is because your local governments, your regional districts, your rural municipalities, your First Nations, you're on the front lines. You're hearing directly from people about what's working and what doesn't. Since UBCM started partnering with First Nations and welcoming First Nations members, there's now 13 First Nations members, and it's great seeing you all here. Regardless of, absolutely. Regardless of the form of local government, what you all do is so critical for British Columbians, and that's why this gathering is so important. My favorite part of this event every year is learning more about the communities that I have the opportunity to meet with. And it's important for us to meet with you in the boardroom, in the meeting rooms. That's a critical piece. But it's also important for our government and for me to get out and to see you in your home communities as well. For example, I understand that Prince George would like to host UBCM in their community next year. I fully endorse it. Now, who with me thinks that Prince George would do an amazing job next year hosting UBCM? I think so too. I've been there a lot of times since becoming premier. It's a wonderful center, and despite the fact that somebody ate Aileen's cake last night, I still support the idea. That was an inside joke just for Prince George. It was an accident. I think we had a confession in the front row. Fort St. John, I was touched by you had one item on your agenda in your meeting with me, and that was to invite our cabinet to come up to visit you. It was a repeated and enthusiastic and a warm invitation. You've asked, and we're going to make it happen. Our cabinet will come up to Fort St. Well, come to Prince George too. We're going to come up to Fort St. John. We're going to meet with you, and we're going to have a tour of the community, and I'm very much looking forward to it. And MLA Jordan Keeley, where are you? I saw you somewhere in the room. I'm looking forward to that steak. All right, brother. All right. We're doing some good work on the bridge, and I think you know it. I want to address a couple issues off the top that came up repeatedly throughout the week. First, the obvious, the challenge of crime and disorder in our streets. You see it every day firsthand. When I talk to mayors and councillors, the message is the same. People deserve to feel safe in their communities in every corner of our province. It's not enough for the crime rates to fall on paper. I do want to point out, BC's crime rates are down 11%. We're leading Canada in that respect. But people also have to feel safe in their communities when they go out downtown, when they see disorder, when they see people that are struggling in crisis, when they see shoplifting and property crime, when they hear stories of violence, they do not feel safe, and we have to fix it. I did talk to Prince George yesterday about the brewery in Prince George, the Crossroads brewing facility that burned down in the downtown. This is a core facility, a core gathering place in Prince George, allegedly burned down by an individual with a very long rap sheet. Examples of crime like this in communities like BC break my heart, break the hearts of the community, and must be addressed. It's also not safe for the people who are living outside either, in distress, in obvious distress, in ill health. That's why we're acting on every front. In terms of enforcement, we're training and hiring more police officers. We're giving police more resources to target repeat crime, both violent crime and property crime. We're fighting for and winning tougher bail laws from the federal government. We're cracking down on gangs and organized crime. And I know that there is a lot more work to be done. When somebody repeatedly breaks the law, there need to be real consequences, and they need to be held in jail. Now, we have reason to believe, and we are very hopeful that the federal government will be introducing significant reforms to the criminal code this fall. If they do, these were achieved through all provinces working together to ensure that these changes happen. And we'll keep pushing to make sure that judges understand and reflect the concerns of your communities around community safety in every single part of the province. Now, it's just not crime in the street, it's also crime at home that we're concerned about. We have heard sickening and alarming stories of intimate partner violence in British Columbia and all across Canada. And we say there is a special place in hell for men who assault, beat, and kill their partners. Last week when I was in Ottawa and in Ontario in July, I raised this issue directly with the Prime Minister. Attorney General Nikki Sharma has as well with her counterparts. We are pushing for a stronger risk assessment to be applied to all offenders to keep people safe. We have to do all we can to keep people safe from violence in our communities. That's why at the provincial level, we're also expanding supports for victims of violence, survivors of violence, and improving how the legal system responds. Now, regardless of the type of crime, our government is focused on breaking the cycle that leads to repeat offending and crime generally. We're working with many of you to close unsafe encampments. We're building complex care housing with many of you. We're expanding treatment and recovery in many of your communities. And there's more we need to do. Over the last week, we heard from many of you about the need to expand involuntary care beds in the province of British Columbia, that you need involuntary care facilities in your community for people who are struggling with serious mental health issues, addiction issues, and brain injury. You'll be aware that we've already opened 2 sites in correctional institutions in the province. We have one site in Maple Ridge and the other site at the Surrey Pretrial Centre. People are getting treatment while they're in custody, and it's working. But we need to do more. So we will create more spaces for those people facing complex mental health and addiction disorders in every region of the province. And today I want to share a couple more steps in that work. Today I am pleased to announce that we have identified sites in Prince George and Surrey to open the next 2 involuntary care facilities in the province of BC, adding around 100 more beds. Now, we are taking steps to advance work on those 2 sites, and a core to the sites is that the buildings already exist and can open quickly. I want to thank you for your advocacy and assure communities across the province that we are working to do this in every region of the province so people can get treatment and care and dignity close to home in ways that make them safer and ways that make the broader community safer as well. Every year, the reason why we come here, the reason why we have these meetings with you, is to listen to you and hear your feedback about what we can do and where we're headed in the right direction and where we need a course correction. So when it comes to the proposed changes to the Heritage Conservation Act, I want to assure you, we have heard your feedback. And so we're going to make some needed changes, and we're also going to extend the engagement period to make sure that you have the time that you need to fully understand what's being proposed and to provide feedback to us from the front lines about how that will work or not work in your communities. I can tell you that the feedback you've already provided will result in changes to the legislation. At the same time, I need to be clear about why we're doing this. And one of the key reasons why we're doing this is feedback that we've heard directly from you here at UBCM. The existing Heritage Conservation Act is not working. It is delaying badly needed growth in communities, whether it's housing, whether it's industrial growth that brings prosperity in our province. And it's also not working for people who are concerned that their priceless cultural heritage may be lost forever. We can and we will do better, but we'll do it in a way that works for you because it has to work at the local level. It has to work for all British Columbians. We can't hold up permits. We can't hold up the expansion of housing and economic growth that we need to see We need change, but we will not do it at the expense of local communities. We're going to make sure it works for you, and that is my commitment to you here today. Now, it feels like a pretty long time since I was here at UBCM. A lot has happened in the interim. We had a provincial election. We had an unprovoked trade war from the United States. And my youngest, baby Quen, she's now 15 months old. Thank you. We're very much in the tantrum stage, you know, the sleepless nights, poop everywhere, and there's a lot going on with the baby as well. In all seriousness, the last year has been defined in large part by a new threat. The President of the United States has been threatening our country's sovereignty, has been attacking our provinces and our country's economy. But I can tell you this, British Columbia will not be bullied. People across this province are coming together like never before. They're traveling within Canada and boycotting travel to the US. They're looking out for each other the way that we always do as British Columbians and Canadians. Our government is working hard to do our part on Team Canada. We're leveraging our natural strengths. We're building new trade partnerships. We're supporting businesses and workers. We're delivering the services that make our economy strong. And we're doing it with you at the local level leading the way. When tariffs hit, the City of Surrey fast-tracked permits to make sure people kept working. Is Surrey here? There we go. The City of Richmond launched a food hub to keep local farmers working. Way to go, Richmond. And Maple Ridge launched a Buy Local hub to keep city dollars in their community. That is local leadership. It is inspiring to me. I know it's inspiring to all of us. Way to go. We know that the world feels more uncertain right now. Between Trump's threats, global insecurity, it feels like the ground's shifting beneath our feet, because it is. I can tell you, though, with certainty, that there is no place that I would rather be to face these threats than right here in British Columbia. We have everything that the world needs. We have the resources, the energy that the world is looking for. We have the incredible people to bring those goods to market. And we have the access to the global markets to help us diversify our customer base away from the US so that we never face this again. We've got everything that it takes to grow Canada's economy, to build the stronger, more independent Canadian economy that all of us want. Because of this, our province has a generational opportunity to be the economic engine for the entire country. And we are going to grab that opportunity together. Absolutely. We are fast-tracking major projects that will benefit all British Columbians and all Canadians. BC is just one of 10 provinces, but 40% of the major projects on the Prime Minister's list are projects located right here in British Columbia. I am proud that we delivered Canada's first export LNG facility in LNG Canada, the largest private sector investment in our province's history, and there is so much more on the way. Additionally, the Highland Valley Copper Mine, thousands of good union jobs in Logan Lake, British Columbia, billions of dollars in revenue in the expansion project, producing copper, a critical metal needed in the energy transition by the entire world. And we've just learned, too, that the new combined mining giant Anglo Teck will locate their headquarters right here in British Columbia. This will be the largest company in the history of our province to locate here, and it confirms our status as an international mining hub that we can all be proud of, that will drive prosperity in every corner of this country. But we can and we have to do more. BC has tens of billions of dollars of private sector projects that will deliver the wealth needed to make all Canadians better off. It'll support people in communities in our province with the services that really matter. Projects that will create opportunity, jobs, and prosperity, now and for the future. We do have that generational opportunity, but we have to act to secure it. Right now, a lack of hydropower in our province is holding back major projects. And I have an announcement to share with you today. This fall, we will introduce legislation to make sure we build the North Coast transmission line. We're going to get it built. Now, this transmission line is going to give companies access to clean power. It's going to make sure that we're not just driving down emissions, but we're creating jobs across the province. It's going to strengthen our partnerships with First Nations. It means billions of dollars in investment, good union jobs for northern and rural communities. But it's not just numbers. It is those jobs for families to build a life, for communities to be strengthened, for young people to be able to build a life and a home in the communities that they love and not have to leave. This is the future that we are building together, and I thank you for your support in that critically important work. Now, if BC is Canada's engine, then without question, rural and northern communities are the pistons, or perhaps the batteries, driving that engine. For generations, families across the province have built our forestry, mining, and natural gas sectors. And I know it can feel like the regions generate the wealth while the South reaps most of the benefits. Well, together, we are working to address that issue. As we move these projects forward, we will make sure that all regions of the province benefit. The revenue has to lift everyone, especially those who have spent their lives building and working in these sectors, so that they can enjoy a high quality of life in their home communities for themselves and for their families. That's why we've done things like support the Resource Benefits Alliance, the $250 million agreement with the Northwest. Now, that is a shared vision built on respect. It recognizes the unique contribution of these communities and the need for vital infrastructure. And this investment is already at work in many of your communities, in your cities, towns, and villages, improving active transportation in Burns Lake, replacing a critical submarine water supply line in Prince Rupert. Yeah, up front, Mayor Hervey's just clapping. And even funding an electric Zamboni in Terrace. Pretty good. Because when every community benefits, all of British Columbia is lifted up. Now, if rural communities are the engine of our province, then without question, forestry is the foundation of many of those communities. But right now, forestry workers and the forestry sector is facing serious challenges, which means our whole province is facing a serious challenge. And one of those challenges includes Trump's punishing and unjustified tariffs on the softwood lumber industry, with more threatened on the way. Working closely with our partners in Eastern Canada, we've been pushing Ottawa to resolve the tariffs and expand our products to new markets, resulting in a $1.6 billion commitment for the industry to ensure those supports are there. For our part in BC, we know that mass timber is a big part of our future together, as it lets us add more value here in the province, getting more jobs from our resource, and delivering high-quality products for British Columbians. Over the past 5 years, we funded over 40 mass timber buildings and leveraged almost $600 million in forest product manufacturing. We have more mass timber buildings here in BC than anywhere else in North America. This, in turn, has helped protect 3,600 jobs, and we've got more to do. Just last week, we announced $2.5 million in grants for 9 manufacturing projects. This includes $1.4 million to the Canadian Bavarian Millwork Company in Chemainus for a new facility and advanced equipment. Someone from Chemainus over there? Good stuff. We're also expanding BC Timber Sales so that it's able to deliver for you in local communities. It needs to respond to local needs and support local mills, local forests supporting local jobs in local communities and building up our province together. That is the future of forestry, building stability and predictability for communities, for people in our province, for companies, and for families. Thank you for advocating this. Thank you for pushing this forward. We are with you. In order to help companies absorb some of these tariff impacts, we're delaying monthly timber harvest bills for 2 months, giving forestry businesses a little bit of room to breathe while protecting family-supporting jobs and ensuring that federal support is in place. As we all face these global headwinds and tight budgets, our focus as a government has been laser-focused on growing a stronger, more resilient economy for the province and everybody who lives here. Because the strong economy, it doesn't just show up in the bottom line. And this is why I care about it. This is why I went to Kitimat to celebrate the opening of LNG Canada. This is why I went to Logan Lake to celebrate the expansion of the Highland Copper Mine. When we build wealth, it shows up in real ways in people's lives. It creates the wealth needed to make everybody better off, to create the essential building blocks of a strong and vibrant province and community. It means hospitals and cancer centers, roads and transit and pothole repair, schools, childcare. That's what a growing economy makes possible. And that is exactly the message that I took to the Prime Minister and key ministers last week in Ottawa as I shared our vision of BC's economic leadership and the need for a strong federal partner. If the federal government is looking for answers to how to build Canada's economy, to weather this economic storm, I say to them, just look west. Because it's here in BC that Canada's next chapter is being written. It's here in BC where we will be Canada's economic engine for the future. Here in BC, more than ever before, we create the wealth that will drive tomorrow's economy. We create the wealth that builds the Canada we love and pays the equalization payments for the other provinces. This is a hopeful, absolutely right. Sure for that. You're welcome, Quebec. And Ontario. This is the hopeful Canada. This is the welcoming Canada. This is the fair Canada. This is the Canada where working people can build good lives in strong, vibrant communities. Because you can see if you look west, it doesn't matter if you're a healthcare worker in Vancouver or you're a miner in the Northwest, we all share in the same future. We all share and benefit from the same wealth. We all have a responsibility to future generations to build a better province and a better country. And so I say to all of you, the road ahead will not always be easy. I know that we are all governing in incredibly challenging times. I know that my government is far from perfect, but we can always do better. But I also have never been more confident that BC's best days are ahead. When a former lawyer for the poor and disenfranchised can stand with businesses, with workers, with local governments, with First Nations, and community leaders like you to bring prosperity to our province, I know that we're moving in the right direction. I know that we're doing something that today and tomorrow will be brighter than where we are right now. So let's build the BC of our dreams together. Let's make it happen together, and let's work together to deliver the province and the country that the future Canadians all deserve. Thank you very much.
conduct the Q&A section. So to ask a question, go on your smartphone or your tablet and log into Slido. And there's a QR code on the chairs as well for you to scan, so you can enter Slido. And if you have issues accessing this platform, please raise your hand and staff will come to you to help. And remember that the questions are only reserved for delegates and for local government elected officials, as well as First Nations officials. When you ask your question, please include your name and your local government with each question that you provide. And we invite all delegates to participate using the upvote on the Slido so your question can go up to the top. So we shall activate the system right now. But in the meantime, while you're putting your questions, I do have a couple questions for the Premier.
Trish, I thought you might.
All right. But the first question, though, is you want the convention to go to Prince George. They don't have enough hotels. So what are you going to do about that?
Prince George, are you going to take that? I was assured by the city of Prince George that they had the hotels and they were ready to go. And so I'll hold the mayor and council to that commitment.
I think they're dreaming a little bit, but that's okay.
Oh, wow. Oh, my.
Look at this room, and we are squished here. We don't even have enough room, but we have an engaged local government, so thank you so much.
Right
so
on.
To the first question. So one of the things we've heard this week is that the biggest obstacle to attaining provincial housing goals is the local government infrastructure gap. And we know right now it's $24 billion, and that's just in the old infrastructure. So the finance minister the other day, Minister Bailey, and through the working group as well, told us that the cupboard is a bit empty. So what is the province's plan to ensure that that core infrastructure will be in place so we can absorb the growth?
Yeah, it's a huge challenge, and I know a lot of communities are facing issues around things like drinking water, treatment, sewage, other basics, and they are items that are only getting more expensive. They've seen pretty dramatic inflation for projects. Had a conversation with a number of communities who have faced significant inflation in the cost of their projects that they would like to move ahead with. I spoke directly with the Prime Minister and with the Finance Minister federally about the critical challenge we face with respect to infrastructure in the province. Some of you who, I met someone last night, it was their 20th UBCM. Some of you who have been here for previous UBCMs will know the federal government used to have regular funding for infrastructure for our province, and that was interrupted a few years ago, and we just haven't seen it come back. Our hope is, and all indications are, that the federal government will be coming back in a significant way into infrastructure, particularly tied to housing. We're fortunate in having a minister responsible for housing from British Columbia, Minister Robertson, who was here during UBCM to hear directly about these concerns as well. We'll make sure that we're working together on that. The other component is municipal financing and finance reform. We've done some work with UBCM on that, about opportunities to be able to fund the infrastructure that we need. We'll continue to work with UBCM on finding those ways to fund infrastructure. There's two competing and very opposing forces in communities that are trying to build additional housing. One is that people need more affordable housing. The other is that regional districts and others need to recover the costs of the infrastructure to make that housing possible. And so those opposing forces need to be addressed, and my sincere hope is that the federal government is going to be a strong partner in this coming forward. We'll know when the budget's announced in a few weeks.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And we have questions already coming in. So I'll take the first one from Mark Vonesh from Cortes Island Regional. He's Cortes Island Regional Director. So housing is a huge issue in all communities. Rural communities need a different approach than larger municipalities. Can you speak about your future housing commitment to rural communities?
Yeah, this has been an ongoing challenge with a number of communities, particularly with respect to how BC Housing operates their housing funding. Often we need a nonprofit partner to be able to assemble a project proposal and a grant proposal for BC Housing to be able to fund a project to go ahead. We've been able to address that with a number of rural and remote communities, including First Nations communities, where BC Housing has acted as the project proponent and advanced projects in partnership with the community. There's more that we can do on that. And it remains a challenge when, when I'm talking to a community and they need just a 50-meter stretch of road paved, or they need access to gravel. These challenges feel very surmountable and can sometimes block housing. So we've got funding committed to support municipalities that are working on housing around addressing infrastructure concerns. The federal government, we hope, will be on side as well. But the combination between BC Housing able to act as proponent for affordable housing initiatives and the federal government infrastructure funding being able to support just those small projects, demolition of an existing building, for example, that enable the housing to go ahead, I think will be a strong combination to be able to deliver that kind of housing.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. The next question we have is from Mayor Paul Horn from City of Mission. What commitments will your government make to invest in the K-12 education?
Yeah, thanks for asking the question. This is an important line in the sand, I guess, we're drawing with some of the discussions that are happening about how we manage government. We've made a commitment that every kid in this province should have the opportunity to go to a high quality and a safe school. To that end, we have put significant funding into opening new schools across the province, and we're going to keep doing that. In doing that work, we are accumulating debt in funding the capital, but also in paying for the additional teachers and staff that are required for this. We have doubled education funding since forming government, and we're going to continue to support education. But the debt that we have accumulated as a result of doing this work, and we're going to do a lot more, is an investment without a doubt in our communities and in our future. Schools aren't just for the kids, they're also gathering centers for the community and so much more. There is a discussion about whether we should be doing that. There is a division between our party and the Conservatives about this. We believe that class sizes matter, both for classroom management and for the experience that kids have in school. And the Conservatives argue that in fast-growing communities like Surrey, south of Fraser, the class sizes should be expanded to reduce the demand on building new schools. It's a point of division. When the Globe and Mail writes an editorial and says, BC is accumulating too much debt, and I know that the debt that we're accumulating is going to building capital projects like school, investing in our future, and that Ontario is proposing a $60 billion tunnel under the 401. I know that the debt that we are accumulating will help build our province going forward and is covering social debts that were in communities when kids were going to unsafe schools, substandard schools in our province. So we're making choices about investing in our province, investing in our kids, making sure that they have a high quality educational experience. And the result of that is a stronger province for everyone, so we're pretty committed to that.
I have to say, Minister Bailey on Monday emphasized the same thing, talking about the good debt that goes into those capital projects is ever so important. So thank you for that. Next question is from Dave Thompson, Councillor from Victoria. What measures will the province undertake to replace the revenues and climate progress that we lost when the consumer carbon tax was removed?
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Dave. It's an important question, and it was a decision point for our government. The carbon tax was, there were two components to it. One, it was remitted back to low-income households through a rebate process. And the other part, the original carbon tax that was in place under the previous administration, it was offset by tax cuts in other areas. So, for example, PST on electricity. They removed PST on electricity and put the carbon tax on fuel with the idea that You make electricity cheaper, you make gasoline more expensive, people will transition away to use more electricity and reduce their dependence on fossil fuels. It's the philosophy of the carbon tax. So when we were at the decision point of removing the tax, when we didn't want people to have to choose between believing that climate change was real, wanting to take action on climate change, wanting a government to take action on climate change, but facing very real threats to affordability and challenges in their daily lives just meeting the bills. We did have the ability to reinstate the taxes on business and on the PST on electricity to recover what had been offset by the carbon tax. We made the decision not to do it. The result was a $2 billion tax cut for British Columbians. The impact on the provincial treasury is apparent. Our sense right now from British Columbians across the province is that now is not the time to increase taxes on them. The day-to-day inflationary impacts that people have seen, the rising costs as a result of the trade war launched by the United States, all of these challenges, people are really struggling. And so our goal has been to focus on growing the economy, expanding opportunities to generate revenue for the province while creating jobs and prosperity, and we're showing good progress in that. But as I said in my speech, we got lots more to do on that, and we will really require local government support to help deliver that. When I was at Highland Valley Copper, every local government was out celebrating that announcement, and that's what I love to see is when we can all work together to help deliver these big projects that are going to help pay for the services we know we need.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. The next question, I think we can fit two more. So the next one is from Zeg DeVries from Saanich City Councillor. Will you reverse the pause in the active transportation infrastructure grant program?
It's certainly possible, but the pause is a reflection of the financial circumstances we're in the province. So, you know, we have record low natural gas prices, we have record low timber prices, we have low resource prices generally in the province. And at the same time, the uncertainty around what's happening with the US and in the economy, a lot of families and with respect to interest rates, a lot of families are deciding not to move, not to buy new homes, so the income from property transfer tax, for example, has collapsed at the same time. So you're talking about a perfect storm in terms of government revenues. The active transportation grants are an example of the kinds of things that we can do if we work together to build a prosperous province together. But it's also an example of one of the things that we have to put a pause on when we're facing these kinds of unprecedented pressures on the provincial budget. And so, right now, no. But in the future, yes. Active transportation is crucial. Ensuring walkable communities, bikeable communities is good for tourism. It's good for local communities, and absolutely, we really value that. But right now, yeah, it's on hold.
Okay. Thank you for that. The next one also ties to a question that I had that I didn't ask you, but mine was on street disorder. So Kyle Sampson from PG kind of sums it as well. He's saying, thank you for standing alongside municipalities like Prince George and more across BC in championing bail reform. And this is in regards to violent and non-violent property. And this is federally as well that you're championing for it. What timeline can we expect, and how can we further support the call to the feds to do bail reform?
Yeah, thanks, Kyle. So I think that everything that I hear is that we're going to see significant bail reform and criminal code reform from the federal government in October. The details are a bit fuzzy. We haven't been engaged on specific language or those kinds of things that I can share with you. And so we're hopeful that it will include all the components we're looking for. We're looking for components related to repeat violent offenders, individuals like Randall Hopley and others that just seem to continually be released back into the community. We're looking for provisions about intimate partner violence and making sure that we're recognizing through the criminal code what is happening in communities across the country. But the piece that I'm hopeful for, but I'm not sure yet, is repeat property crime. This is an issue across the country. Someone tried to steal Doug Ford's car out of his driveway. Like, this is a serious issue in Canada. And I know that nothing can be more corrosive to a downtown or to business confidence or others when it just feels like there's just total impunity with respect to shoplifting or crimes against businesses in the community. It's like we just can't, like when people just walk out the door and it's the same person and we know they were arrested before and we called the police and then they're back. And so this is a message we're delivering to the federal government. I know you've been delivering to the federal government, but I think we can all contact our MPs and make sure that that property crime aspect is included as well in the broader reforms. Because it is a very serious issue right across the country right now, and they'll be hearing it from other places as well.
Wonderful. Do you think you can take one more?
Absolutely, yeah,
Quickly?
of course.
And I know you're raising your hand, but only questions through Slido. We cannot take, yeah, no, I have to stay with the rules. We can only do Slido. Sorry, ma'am. So one last question is, will the province help local governments fund the increased need faced by our local libraries by increasing co-funding? Public libraries haven't seen an increase in 15 years. And this comes from Councillor Duncan Cavins from Township of Esquimalt.
Thanks, Duncan. When I was in Grand Forks, I had a great, is that you? Nice. I had a great tour with a local librarian who walked me through, it's right there, the importance of the local library to Grand Forks. And there was a two-part message, which I appreciated. One was, hey, thanks for that funding that you provided to libraries when it was 2 budgets ago. Here's where we use the money. It was deployed in different ways in that community that really demonstrated a lot of benefit. But the message was, look, we have a hard time when it's one-off grant funding, when it's a one-time funding, because what we'd like to do is long-term planning, and we need that year-over-year funding going forward. I'm a huge fan of our libraries and librarians across the province. They are one of the remaining public spaces that are open to everybody. I think they've really seen the brunt of some of the challenges around mental health, addiction, and homelessness that communities across Canada are dealing with. And at the same time, they've also been forced into how do we stay current and make sure we're delivering services to communities. I know for our kids, the electronic membership to the library, being able to access books online through the Vancouver Public Library is huge. So you have a fan and supporter in government in all of our MLAs, and I suspect this is maybe a cross-party support issue among many MLAs. But I don't see in the immediate budget that we're going to see an increase in library funding for the reasons that I've outlined about the challenges that we face right now. But it is very much on our radar, and I'm very grateful. And when we're able to, we'll make sure that it is consistent funding going forward for libraries in the province, because I understand the importance of that. And thanks for the tour.
Thank you so much, Premier. And as always, we appreciate the fact that you stay for questions and that you also, share your thoughts with us. And we know there's so many topics and many other themes that came up this week. So we look forward forward after the convention to continue the conversations and to try to find solutions to all these problems that we have that we can tackle going forward. So thank you so
Thanks,
much,
Trish.
as always.